Hey guys, welcome to another mentorship call. Thanks for everyone who's coming live. And guys, we've got a really good call lined up for you tonight. So myself and Mark will be heading up this one. And in this video call, we're going to be going over refining your list and your playstyle. Okay, so this is going to cover and recap a lot of what we've done already and really sort of take things to that next level, because it's one thing going over some of the calls that we have, but without kind of that repetitive nature of really looking at things critically, you're never going to become a better player. So I want to show you what I've built already, put together, and then in that point, then you guys can really start to use this as a tool to help you become, that better player, where you want to be, convert more points, score more victories, and all that good stuff. All right, so let me share with you what I'm working on at the moment. This should be finished by the end of the month, and then I can really kind of make it all jazzy and sort of make it all snazzy, really. So let's have a little look at what we've got so far. So first of all, where's that gone? My screen's disappeared. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see a spreadsheet?
Yeah.
You see a spreadsheet, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so the first thing that we're going to start to do is track your live attendance, okay? So, and this is basically, because what we want to be able to do here is look at the most, the people that are attending live, and if not, are they watching it back as well? You want to make sure that everyone's keeping up with the content, because it's unfair on the guys that are, watching every single video, keeping up with the content, and we want to keep this fast-paced movement compared to people that are maybe 4 or 5 calls behind. So it just means that we can keep you accountable to watching the calls, keep you accountable to doing your homework, and therefore you're going to get the most out of this. Because a lot of coaching is all about accountability. It's not just about, stuff you learn. It's about putting it in practice, putting it in place, and making sure you are doing things. So I'm going to go back and do calls 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll do a bit of a poll in the group and stuff. So, and it doesn't matter if you don't watch it live. The most important thing is that you watch it, okay? So on here, we've got Matt. Actually, while you're here, Matt, which code name are you under, by the way?
I'm number 16.
Storming.
Yeah, you can change that if you want.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So Matt, you are live. Who else have we got on the call? We've got Jared is live. I remember Jared being on the last call, and yourself, Matt, so I'll pop you both in here while we're there. And then we've also got Chris Wilson. Excellent. Has anyone else joined? That's it for now, I think. If I've missed anyone, it doesn't matter. We're going to make a thread. You can post it on there. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to give you all access to this. And then we're going to put the link to every call in here as well. So you're going to have this as like one sort of portal. You can go back and watch anything you wanted, all right? So like last time we spoke about mission design, we'll put the topic in here, which will be like refining your list. And then what we can do then is put the URL into here, and you can always use this as the central hub and database, okay? Then the next thing that I've been working on, which I'm going to basically make for every single one of you, is I'm going to populate. Sue's put what in the chat? Jared is loving it. That's what he said. Cool. So basically, this next one is going to be your own personal. I'm just going to quickly shut the door. So bear with me a second, guys.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Just talk amongst yourselves, lads. I'm back. Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be your personal, basically, I don't know what the best, if you guys think of a cool name, let me know. All right, you guys are much better at this than I am. I'm an Excel guy, that's it. So what you're going to do here is this is going to be your personal tracker, whatever. As we mentioned last week, you want to keep a list for maybe 4 or 5 games, because if you're not playing in tournaments regularly, play a list 5 times against different opponents, and you can log it to sort of measure your success of it, okay? So what we've got here is you are going to enter in down this left-hand column your list, and then you're going to put in your opponent, okay? So this first one is obviously an example. So let's say I'm playing, I don't know, let's say I'm playing Space Wolves, all right? So we'll use... Chris, we'll use you as an example, actually, all right? Chris, can you remember your last game?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Chris, what's your list? Space Wolves?
Yep.
But Imperial Soup, right? Based on new ITC. Yeah?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, cool. So I'll just put it as Imperial for now, okay? What did you play?
I played against AdMech.
Okay, cool. And did they have any special features of their list? That might be good to add in, to be fair.
It was their destroyer spam, kind of, like Cataphon destroyers or whatever they are.
Okay, did he have any robots?
He did, yeah. He had 6.
Anything else? Knights or anything?
He had 1 Castellan.
So we'll basically, you'll just pick out the key stuff, okay? Sorry if I've spelled anything wrong. I'll format this a little bit nicer, but basically then you can look at this and we can generally start to create what is the global meta of what Vanguard Tactics is playing at the moment, okay? Yeah?
Nice. Yeah.
So this is going to be like, I don't know, we'll call this like list rundown. And as we, guys, again, this is only a prototype, this is a draft. If you think of anything that should go in here, I've probably missed something, so pop it in here, okay? So do you remember the date of that, Chris?
It was last Saturday. So the 14th, April 14th or 13th.
Okay, cool. So dates in. Club, was it a tournament? Was it a pickup game? What was it?
It was a RTT, ITC.
RGT, okay. Did you win it?
I did win it.
What was the score?
35 or 36-5.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah,
So ITC, yeah?
correct.
2,000 points?
Yep.
Cool. Mission?
What's yours is mine.
The wife mission.
Yeah.
Have I missed anything so far? No? If you think of anything, guys, let me know. Deployment. Do you remember?
The spear. It was like the spear tip, hammer, and anvil.
Um,
Oh, what is that?
Pointy Dawn of War. Oh, is it Spearhead? Spearhead it's called.
Spearhead assault.
Yeah, that's it. I could never remember the names of those things.
what I'll do,
Yeah.
I'll make a key, guys. That'll make life a lot easier, wouldn't I? Yeah, and then that way you guys will know what it is what. So when you come to do this, we want to make it super quick, super efficient. So did you go first or second?
First.
So we'll put that in. Whoever went first, you're the player. Otherwise, you'd put in opponent if you went second, okay?
Yep.
So then what was, looking at your list against this list, what was the strengths? If you had to summarize, what were the strengths in your list?
Being able to tie up his vehicles, just touching them, pretty much playing tag with his army because suddenly couldn't fall back and shoot.
Okay, cool. And what did you do that with?
All my Space Wolf stuff, like literally the entire battalion. So Wolfen characters and my Blood Claws.
Cool, nice. So with some of your cheaper units, not your Blood Claws, you can get in there, tag them, yeah? Cool.
Yep.
Nice. Oh, Matt, I like it. I like it, Matt. So we've got then, we'll put in, we'll probably put that in here, I think. Matt's just made a really good suggestion, and it was, we should probably put which turn it went to. That's probably a better one. So if it went to turn 5 or 6. So, and then or you could put in, if it ran out of time, maybe you put in that. It's up to you. We can maybe use one or the other, basically, okay? So, do you remember what turn you went to? Turn 6?
Turn 3.
Turn 3. Wow.
I tabled him on turn 3.
Okay, cool.
So then I got to score out my points for the last 3 turns.
So in any other business, you'll put tabled. Tabled at 3. Cool. Right. So, any weaknesses of your list that you found?
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, not in that game. I think. Oh man, yeah, I can't really tell. Like the table was super advantageous. I know how to play against gun lines really well, especially AdMech. So in that game, there was not much that I was really struggling with at all.
That's probably another good one actually to add in is the terrain. Yeah.
Yeah,
So was it light or heavy?
it was heavy. It was like a cityscape,
Okay, cool.
lots of ruins.
So hard for him, advantageous for you, yeah?
Yeah.
Have I spelt terrain right there?
No.
Go
The I and the A are the wrong way around. There you go.
Right. So weaknesses. Was he just a bad player, or was it his list? What is there anything there that could have exposed anything in your list if you were playing, let's say, me with AdMech?
Yeah, I think he was very aggressive with his deployment. He thought he was going to be able to just shoot me off the board. Like I wasn't going to know how to counter a gun line.
Mm-hmm.
So he frontlined a lot of his gun line. So he was just way too aggressive with his gun line.
Okay. So if he would have screened better and cleared out your tagging units, would he have had a harder job in that matchup?
Yeah.
Okay. So the weakness there would actually be light terrain would be a weakness in your list, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can put it in there. And I mean, because this game was so one-sided, obviously you're going to have to really. Sometimes when you win a game by such a severe amount, it's actually hard to take anything away from it constructively, apart from I smash that guy, which is good and gives you a nice warm feeling inside, but doesn't necessarily give you much kind of more to go by. So, and the reason why we're going through this, guys, as an example, is because hopefully you can ask yourself these same questions as you're filling that out. You can kind of imagine I'm talking to you, asking you, drawing out this information so that you can pop it in the spreadsheet. Because at the end of this, you're going to have a complete rundown of how all your games went. Because then you know, right, what are the opportunities if I'm on? Let's say we'll finish this off and then I'll go over a few scenarios and how you need to look at this going into your next game, okay? Because the whole point of this call and refining your list is about how do you play differently? Because you can't just run the same list over and over again consistently to try and get the same result, because you need to be able to play like Deathwatch, for example, Matt, are an extremely great example of that. There is and this is why when so many people use my list, and I saw it at the tournament I was in not too long ago, there's a guy, Cameron, that literally runs my identical list. But he plays it in the same way every single time. But when he faced a different opponent, he got absolutely smashed in a game he should have won, but he just didn't set up and deploy properly. So anyway, opportunities there. So is there any opportunities in your list where you can really sort of take advantage of this then, Chris?
Yeah, I use all the terrain to my advantage. Being able to get free charges from behind ruin walls with my infantry, so I avoided Overwatch the entire game.
Okay, nice. Okay. Any threats to your list?
He was using punchy bots, the close combat ones. So those were like my priority that I took out first when I got my Wolfen and all my blood claws out of the hunt, was just to touch the punchy bots and then the shooty bots so that they couldn't mow down any of my guardsmen that needed to move into the middle of the board.
Okay. And I suppose their range is a threat as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously they're punchy bots. Even if you tag them, they're still going to keep punching you.
Yeah, which is why I prioritized getting the Wolfen to tag those guys and just pop them as soon as I came in on turn 2.
Nice. So what was the plan?
So I backlined. So first it was put all my Space Wolf stuff on the hunt. I just spent the CP and I was like, okay, Wolfen are on the hunt. All my blood claws are on the hunt and my 2 characters are in the sky. I said if I can keep them off the board, if I don't get turn one, they ain't gonna get shot at.
Okay.
He had no deep strike in his army, so I got to freely just bring my stuff on and not have to worry about counter deep strike.
Okay.
And then I just hid all my guardsmen, just clumped him up, hit him out of line of sight as far back away as I could. He had no like mortar type stuff, ignore line of sight.
Okay.
And then I put my 3 knights.
Your 3 knights.
Yeah.
And what did you prioritize?
My 3 knights. What was that?
What did you prioritize to kill? What was the plan? So you've deployed well, everything. What's the first thing you need to take out?
So the way he had deployed, I didn't really have any good line of sight on any of the destroyers. He kept those pretty much behind ruins on turn 1. He just had all of his bots up on the front line and then put his Castellan right on the front line pretty much. And so I was like, all right, I'll just throw my Castellan went into his Castellan to force him, to spend the CP. And I used the Calidus Assassin against him.
Nice.
Which made him chew up all of his CP on turn 1.
Okay, so the plan then really was actually to get rid of his resources, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because you're probably not going to kill the Castellan with your Castellan. So what you're trying to do there is reduce his resources so that when he gets his first turn, he's not going to have the resources there to, 3 CPs, reroll 1s every single turn for, let's say, 1 and 2, rotate Iron Shield for 2 turns, yeah?
Yep.
Because also AdMech are very resource heavy, like Wrath of Mars, all that kind of stuff. 2 CPs to get the +1 to hit off and all that sort of shenanigans. So reduces resources. Therefore that's going to limit his damage back to you in your first turn, right?
Yep.
Cool. And then after that, it was, you said kill the punchy bots, yeah?
Yep.
Nice. Love that, mate. So again, you only need a few things here. So it doesn't have to be reams and reams and reams, just a few little sentences. Okay, so then what went well? Calidus.
Well, I made my...
Was the Calidus?
Yeah, the Calidus Assassin was clutch. I mean, he spent all of his CP on turn 1. He had nothing left going into his turn 1. I made him use his... he had to use the rotate. He only started with like 6 CP, so...
okay.
Yeah.
So
I tapped all of his resources.
And then how quickly did you take the punchy bots down?
1 round of combat.
Nice.
Yeah. And I actually utilized in both of my turns, I used the fight twice strat for the Wolfen. So I properly spaced my Wolfen so that I could tie up a unit of bots, blow up the bots, and then attack another unit of bots, leaving 1 robot alive, surrounded it, took it hostage so I couldn't get shot at on his turn 2.
Okay, cool. So,
and then proceeded to pop his bot on his turn 2, and then rinsed and repeated. Moved, advanced, charged. I multi-charged, tied up both units of destroyers, and then blew both the destroyer units up, and then used my characters to go take out his infantry.
So is a threat to your list then, just thinking about this, is a threat to your list failing your charge?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, live and die on that turn 2 charge.
Okay, right. So that needs to go in as a threat then. Okay, cool. So again, it's just these things here I think sometimes we need to be aware of, okay, the dice going in your favor, but could it have been a threat, But then obviously if you deployed them, let's say, but then I suppose the opportunity there is to actually deep strike behind out of line of sight, right? So then even if you fail it, they're not going to get shot. Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, nice. So then, I mean, is there anything that you could have done better? How do you table him in turn 2, mate? Why?
Why hang around till turn 3? Yeah.
No, just didn't have the distance. If I had 2 full units of Wolfen, maybe I would have got it done.
How many points was it, Chris?
It was 2,000 points.
2,000, cool.
So is there anything you could have done better? No? It sounds like you played.
No, I just got lucky getting that 9-inch charge.
Okay, we'll leave that one blank then, because I think you, by the sounds of it, smashed it. So
yeah.
What would you do next time exactly the same? If you played that list on that table, yeah? What would you...
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you need to ask yourself is what do you do if you go second in that matchup? Does the plan change much?
Not really, because I deployed as if I was going to go second. He had the +1 on the roll, so I thought I was going to go second anyways.
Okay.
So I always deploy as if I'm going second, just because my list, it's like I have the range with the Helverins and with the Castellan or Crusader, whichever one I'm using.
And
I have the range.
his Castellan might do some damage to your Castellan, so you'd probably be 3 CPs down, but that's probably about it,
Yep.
right? Okay, cool.
Yep, exactly.
So next time, you just got to be aware of maybe going second, and that's about it.
Yep.
It sounds like you already smashed that anyway. Nice. And then any lessons learned? Probably not really.
Yeah, not really.
Okay.
Just that robots are good.
Probably a bit of a bad example then, in a way, for some of this stuff. But look, you get the idea. This was just an example, okay? Because I think, and hopefully Matt and Jared, if obviously you guys listening, hopefully Matt already, you're thinking about your last game with the Death Watch. So have I missed anything at this point, or any other details you would like added in?
There's two things that I'll say. I've been looking at this. The first thing is that sometimes you can think that it's needless to go over such a wonderful victory. But like Steve was saying there, if you ask yourself the question, what would have happened if he'd not been super aggressive and he'd screamed well, then I would have dealt with that next time. And you probably would have dealt with it absolutely fine. But it's good to ask the question. So if you come up against that same list and the guy deploys not properly, you know what I mean, but more conservatively, you've already got a strategy in your head, so you know what you're going to do and you don't panic. I'm not saying, Chris, that you're going to panic at all, but it's for everybody, you know what I mean? Like there's loads of games I've won, especially when I've been with Steve, and there's been loads of stuff that I could have done better. And when you start to analyse that, as obviously like when you lose is a big one, but then that's where you really start to see a progression, you know what I mean? And sometimes at the stage you're at the minute, Chris, is like that you're winning loads of games, you're way up in the ITC, it's absolutely fantastic. So actually your margins for improvement might be smaller than other people's, the people who are just playing clubs and that sort of thing. So that's, I think, in my opinion, where it's good to pay attention to it, you know what I mean? Like the not rest on your laurels. I'm not saying you are for a second, but I see that this document really delivers some of that to categorize each of the thoughts in a certain way, allows people to think about things in certain pockets, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is that I don't know if we can do this. I'll speak to Steve later. I wonder if we can get everybody filling these in, if we can get some statistics from it, so that if everybody's struggling against a certain list or whatever, then we can go, right, let's get our heads together, fathom out a method to play against that list, and help the people in the group. So if they come up against it, so if something new comes out next week, maybe it's Yunari get boosted instead of nerfed, and then starts to appearing in the list, and Yunari starts appearing, then we go, right, okay, let's play some games, us guys, and figure out a way to beat it, and then we'll give it to you and say, right, here's how you do it.
So one of those things I'm going to put in any of the business bit here. So this is just things that you should be aware of. So obviously you tabled at turn 3. You made the charge with the Wolfen, which is obviously massive. So that's obviously been influenced by the die set. And also this is pre-FAQ, right?
Correct.
So is obviously something that, and this is also, and what we can do here is it's post ITC update, and it's also pre-FAQ, isn't it? Cool.
Yep.
What we could put in here, actually, which I have forgotten, is the secondaries that you picked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll put a key for those. So can you remember off the top of your head which ones you scored?
Oh, man. Gangbusters was one of them.
Yep.
I took Kingslayer on the Castellan because he made that his warlord.
Okay.
And Recon.
Okay. And so out of those four, out of those three, did you score all four for all three of them 4 times?
Yeah.
So you basically got 4, 4, 4. All right. Cool. Little things like this, because if someone, let's say Matt's playing ITC, and he's consistently taking recon, and we look at this and go, Matt, how have you not scored? Why are you only scoring recon out of 5 games only once or something? Then recon is not the secondary for you, Matt. Do you see what I mean? So then this is how we can start to use this data to think, well, what is your selection process like when it comes to secondaries as well? We can't really do that too much in ETC or obviously the book with the Maelstrom cards, but maybe we put that is it any other business, like cards were just dreadful or something. And what I want you to be aware of in this any other business, like we all know I'm a bit dry sense of humor and my dice rolling is a bit of a sort of ongoing joke, but still it needs to be things like that are extremely massive, like being seized on is one, rather than I just drew some bad cards. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be horrifically awful for it to go in that any other business part, all right? Or really, really well as well. Like if you made a ridiculous 12-inch charge that you would have never got off, or if you did that super smite and managed to get rid of, I don't know, like a Castellan with 6 wounds left or something, just like really massive things that consistently you wouldn't do, all right? So this will really then lead us quite nicely into kind of, is everyone kind of up to speed with this so far? Is everyone enjoying this? Is this going to be something that you're going to use, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Matt, do you see yourself using this?
Yep.
Nice. And Jared, you have to shoot us a chat in the message. And obviously, like, what I'll do is I'll probably put, once I've shown in, like, obviously myself, in Mark, and the other guys have gone through all of this together, somebody will be in charge of it. And everyone down the bottom here will have their own sheet. So you can log into the date, it will be one central hub. And what you can do is you can access this via Google Docs or whatever spreadsheet. Maybe we use it on Excel, whatever people would prefer. We use that, and then it's going to be there for everyone to log in, access it, and we keep it all nice then as well. Okay. Cool. Good work. So then, Mark, have I missed anything? Anything you want to add?
No, I think that's really good. The discipline's going to be key in filling this in, and then just every time you've had a game, get on it, get it done, and then it helps if you've got a problem with something. Say, I'm really struggling with this or against this list. We can have a look through this and go, all right, okay, let's try and come up with some ideas what it could be. Like the thing with the cards, because I've just played this weekend in 3 in a tournament that was only Maelstrom cards, and my opinion on the cards are like, you can't have bad cards. You've got a list that can't get those cards. So like Blood and Guts, I got rid of it every time. Because you're now getting rid of 6 before the game. I took a gunline army. I had no intention of going to combat with anything. So I binned it. Domination, binned it. So I would suggest that like we got a tailor that list for you to make sure that you can score them all.
Yeah, definitely. I love that, Mark. And the other thing what you can do, guys, is if you're smart about this, where it says like Imperial list down here. So, for example, with you, Chris, what you could do is on your battle scribe, you could give it a number or something. So let's say this is your, like, I don't know, on your battle scribe, you can obviously have different lists on there. You'd have list 5, and then you know which list it refers to. Something like that.
Gotcha.
Use it in a way that is actually valuable to you, because otherwise it's like, oh, what list was it? Was that with the Castellan or was that with the Crusader? Or was that with no fight? Was it with just all Space Wolves or whatever it might be? So try and find a way to basically catalog your own lists for your own reference, and then that way you're going to get the most out of it. Right. Okay, guys. we could really go into detail. We could even add like hyperlinks into this to your Battlescribe list and all kinds of shit, but it just could get crazy. So let's just keep it with this, and we can amend it as we go. Like I said, I'll try and get everyone to log into this by the end of the month. But this is kind of what I've been working on in my sort of brainchild of late. So yeah. Anyway, guys, that is that. So moving on to the rest of obviously the call. Where is? Oh no, what's going on here? Where's me Zoom? Okay, hang on a second. I need to bring this up now. Stop share. Ah, there we go. Right, am I back now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the next thing on the agenda is okay. So a few things that when you are refining, when we talk about like refining this, you really want to make sure that you're kind of using, like, I would probably say like an 80-20 principle. So what I mean by that is you only want to keep like 80% of your list going forward, and then you want to pop up about 20% of that list each game if you're not happy with it, and the results and the refinement should come from what you start to put in this spreadsheet. Okay, so for example, when you analyze the weaknesses each game, for example, you can then start to add things in. So let's say not enough screen. If you realize that your opponent was getting into your gun line too quickly and you don't have enough of a screen, then that should be something you need to look at going forward and think, right, I'm going to take 200 points out of my list that is, let's say, underperforming, and you should have identified that again on the spreadsheet. Okay, so that could be something in any of the notes part. You could be like, okay, the efficiency of, let's say, my Warglaive wasn't enough, so I need to basically get rid of the 2 Warglaives. That'll free up 350 points. But I realized that I needed more of the screen, so what I'm going to do is add in, I don't know, a battalion of sisters, for example, okay, or guard, or loyal, the rusty 17, whatever you want to call it. So that way, then you can put on there as a opportunity, or sorry, the weakness would be you didn't have enough screen, and then your opportunity there is, right, okay, drop your 2 Warglaives, add in more screen, for example. So then when you add that screen back in, you can redefine that list. And then the next point might be like, okay, you played against Ynnari and there was no way of, or let's say you, Matt, in your recent game against Magnus, there was no way of stopping him casting his psychic powers, okay? Or the other demon princes that were constantly smiting you. So what is it you put in your list? Is it a librarian? Does he go in the list? Is it the fact that you need to drop the watch captain and replace that with that librarian? So again, you need to be constantly thinking, okay, what was the weakness? What is the opportunity? And if you're struggling for that opportunity, you need to then ask us, okay? So it's like, guys, I'm really struggling against Smite Spam, 1,000 Suns, Demons, what do I do? And it might be Mark just come up with that idea, right, put a Calexis Assassin right in front of or in the middle of your Deathwatch squads, because then everything's going to be at -2 to cast. So it's going to be a lot harder for him to get off Jinx or whatever it is that you're playing, okay? So that's what you need to constantly think is, or is it a case of you add in some snipers so you can get rid of those psychic supporting characters before they get anywhere close to you, or you make them think about, okay, their deployment, because if they deploy in range, then you're just going to kill them, all right? So you need to constantly think like screen, magic defense, for example, or psychic defense. Maybe, like Mark touched on there, lack of mobility for either card, late game, or progressive scoring. So what is your mobility like? And then you can think about like not enough anti-tank or anti-troop. So again, if you're constantly looking over your sheets, finding yourself in a horde meta, do you have enough weapons for that? Are you constantly thinking, I need to kill a knight, because the current meta is about killing a knight. You need to be able to kill a Castellan. But in a month's time, or just because the global meta might be Castellans are popular, but in your local meta, they might not be. Like, again, for you, Matt, if a lot of people are playing like Marine armies or Chaos armies, then you might not need to worry about that, but you need to be able to get through, 3+ armor. Getting through 3+ armor to a high degree is very different to killing 200 orcs. It's very different to killing a Castellan. Weapons that aren't normally useful in the game, like let's say star cannons, which are strength 6 -3 d3 damage, they're not particularly great against killing a Castellan or orcs, but they happen to be really good against killing marines. So that's where you need to think about what sort of weapons are going to be useful in your list for you to become a better player at the tournaments that you're attending. And again, this is why this spreadsheet is going to be so powerful. And then you can look at not enough anti-air and then also horde clearance, okay? So is that sort of, and again, what we'll do, guys, is we'll put together like a little quick reference sheet of all these things. And Mark, can you remind me to do this? A quick reference.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
A quick reference sheet of all the things that you need to constantly ask yourself, okay? Like, are you able to clear a screen efficiently? Are you able to, for example, zone out a deep strike? Are you able to hold your backfield objectives? If any of you've got any more, please contribute as well. So I'll open up the floor for a few minutes. Any other things that you think, right, that needs to be on this cheat sheet for all of us to constantly ask ourselves? Yeah. Matt?
You were in progress of making a cheat sheet for, it was a chapter approved, when to take second turn, when to take first turn, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Is that near complete?
It is, yeah. Jack is needs to tidy that one off. He's been away this last week and he's starting his new job, but that will be all out by the end of the month, yeah. Because we've got it for the Eternal War, but we need to finish it off for Maelstrom before we basically put it out. So yeah, that is something on our to-do list as well. But that's a good point. Mark, can you make a note of that?
Yeah, I've done it, yeah.
Legend, thank you. Anything else we need to think about, guys? Chris, anything that you found? Jared, you can put it in the chat.
I was wondering if you were going to do more like vlog style stuff when you guys go to events over there.
Yeah,
I think that'd be sweet. I like when you do like the pictures of deployment, who you're playing against, and all that stuff, and what round you're in, and keeping us up to date. But a vlog style thing might be pretty sweet.
Okay, nice. Yeah, cool. I can definitely look to do that. It's just one of those things when I get to a tournament, I'm like, right, I need to remember this.
And yeah, I know, right?
Do you have enough time? Like the last one I went to, the big one, the time was so short. And it's like one of those next things. But yeah, it is one of those things I want to start doing more of, and it's a case of becoming a little bit more prepared for me to do that. So yeah.
It's just getting into the habit though, isn't it? Like you'll see that all the Instagram stuff are from my games. Because I do it when the opponent's taking their turn. So I try and get one in the first turn always. I don't always manage it, but we could certainly talk through that stuff as well. It's just a case of getting into the habit, right? I got to do this every time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But is there anything we've forgotten in terms of what are the things that you find yourself at the end of the game thinking, right, what is it I need to check for? What is it that I'm struggling against? If not, we've covered everything, yeah.
There's one thing for me. So with regards to having an idea of when to keep things for deep strike and when not to keep things for deep strike. Okay. Make a point to the last game, the Thousand Suns, I kept 3 units in deep strike, but when I played it back, I should have just put them on the table from the get-go because Thousand Suns didn't have range, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think with like your list in particular, it's a very tricky list because you've got, with the Death Watch, 3 types of deployment. You've got in the air, you've got on the battlefield, in line of sight and in range to do something, and then you've got out of line of sight, out of range, and redeploying to your teleport homers. So against then it's just knowing which strategy is going to be best. So for example, against a list that's coming running at you with no range, you want to be the screen. Your Death Watch boys want to be at the front. They want to be all 30 bodies, want to stand still with the Watchmaster around them. And you literally want to go, right, well, I'm not moving, so I get Beta Volta rules. And you get 120 shots. at 30-inch range, great. So if you're playing like Genestealer Colt, you're playing anything quick coming at you, you literally just absolutely hit. And this is what this guy Cameron did when he used my list. He played Genestealer Colt and put everything in the air. He should have put everything on the table and just went, right, 100 Genestealers, turn 1 dead. Sorry, it's all kicking off outside. So that, again, but then maybe against like another army, like, I don't know, I think I know any other games. Space Marines I've played. I put them all on the board, out of line of sight, redeploy to the objectives, shoot loads of stuff away, keep 1 unit in the air to drop down, and then when I use the captain to come forward, then I can redeploy that unit anyway, so I can still do it. So again, I think that is going to be for you to kind of think in that any of the business part, you need to start writing this stuff down. I typically won't put 3 units in. I'll probably put 1 unit in most games into Deep Strike, and I'll tend to put 2 units down on the board most games now. Yeah, so that's just going to be a bit of trial and error on your part, and then knowing what armies and play styles is it working best, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When do you want to be defensive versus aggressive? And Deathwatch are really good at doing both. Okay, guys, we'll move on then. If we've not got any other bits that we want to add on to this sort of reminder, which I'll add that into the spreadsheet so you can just look through it and go, right, how's my anti-air? How's my psychic support? How's my backfield objective grabbing or whatever? Okay.
I've made a note of that, so we can add that into the last sheet of the spreadsheet. Yeah. I'll just go over a quick example for a couple of minutes.
Yeah. To
prove the point on this. So the last year, my list, I was running Drukhari, pure Drukhari. The lights are on. I was running Venom Spam, I was running Ravagers, I ran Void Ravens, the Bombers, and then also I was running Razorwing to go with it. I went to tournaments and it was struggling. So what I found was that the Void Ravens have got they're like las cannons, so you've only got a couple of shots. In the first turn, you can get them near an Archon for a reroll 1 to hit, and maybe even the Archon with a Warlord trait for a reroll 1 to wound. But after that, you're struggling. And also, what you want to do is push them up the board before they get shot down, so they can drop the bombs on the whoever that you're playing against. So what I found was that you're getting 3 or 4 shots. You're not really getting much through, so it's not really doing a great deal of damage. Also, what happened was that the Void Ravens were on their own in your opponent's deployment zone, and everything rapid fired into it. I just lost them immediately. So what happened was that I was playing armies. They'd get rid of my heavy support on my flyers, and I'd get through some of their heavy armour. In particular, I played 3 knights, managed to get through 1 night. I played 3 knights twice, managed to get through the first night pretty well, but after that, most of my heavy support was gone and I had nothing. So I was just trying to grab objectives. So that list really wasn't working for me. So we changed it. So I said to Steve, I said, look, the Void Ravens really aren't working for me because there's not enough rate of fire. So Steve said, right, change them for disintegrator cannons, and instead of getting 3 shots from Ravager, you get 9, but they're at strength 5 instead of strength 8. So, but the thing is, let's add Doom in, let's add Jinx in. So then that becomes really important. You've got a huge rate of fire, and then it works together, beautifully. So then also, I put the Talos in. The Talos then sit on the mid-board and then get the, go and get objectives, the Grotesque, go and shoot, get shot at, basically, which allows my gun line to do the work that I need it to do and provides a screen for the Psykers to be able to do their work in Jinx and Doom. This is 3 times as important as what I was running last year, but the core of the list is actually still the same. It's still 3 Ravagers, 2 Archons, Kabalites, etc., etc. And I've progressed it forward. So this is exactly where we want to get you guys to as well. And like what we'll find is not just you guys in this call, but obviously the people who watch this back. That's how you get there. You know what I mean? So it's that. Right, I'm struggling against Psychic. I'm struggling against. I didn't have enough screen. That's a discussion Steve and I had for my list. So we put more Kabalites in, or a screen with the Venoms and this sort of thing. So we found a way to make it work. So what I would hope is that when you come across these things, share it, tell us, we'll put the cheat sheet in together and help you to get there. And then once you've done it once, you know the answers are every time.
because we're going to be as good as we are together. All right. So we are a team. This is why we want to pool this information together. And this is what nobody else is doing out there. Like, I've seen some of the other coaching structures. They're not going into this detail, and they're not helping each other. It's just the case of one person saying to somebody else, "This is what you need to do." And this is how we're really going to develop as a team and just become better players. So, no, Mark, I absolutely love that. And it just sort of reiterates that importance of understanding what is it you're playing, what do you need to do, and how we're going to execute that. Obviously, we're on the verge of this FAQ. I was really hoping the FAQ would be out before this call. But what I'm going to do is I'll do as soon as FAQ is released, I'm going to sit down and record a video for you guys on my take of it and how it might influence your lists, all right? So then you can start to think about this stuff already. I'll probably do one as an Ask VP, but what I'll try and do straight away is give you guys my take on it, all right? And then that way it's just going to be a quick thing. I'll go back over it again, but at least it'll give you something to go by as soon as it comes out, because I think it's going to really change some stuff up in regards to what is the current meta at the moment, all right? And then obviously we've got my bread and butter is Ynnari. Like, I've played that for years, or my main last year. So as soon as that index comes out next month in that White Dwarf, again, I'm going to be going over it for you as well, so we really understand how the index is going to change Ynnari. They're obviously such a strong contender. Jacqueline, how's it going, bro? Thanks for joining in, man. Okay, so cool. That's good so far. So again, when we're looking into this refinement, we probably want to change maybe 300 to 400 points a game. But again, your decisions from a competitive standpoint should be based on your data. Okay, if you want to put in a unit because you just like the look of it, that's okay. But again, we need to try and find a use for it in your list, because otherwise, if you're just putting in units, and you want to kind of keep your fluffy friendly games against your mates, where it's just like, let's put some models on the table, have a laugh. That stuff probably shouldn't be reported on the spreadsheet, because it's just a different, like, you've just picked up a new Abaddon, you want to put them on the table, whatever, or a new Lord Discordant, whatever, play him in a friendly game. But then if you think, actually, he's got some duality in my competitive list, then you can start to include him, providing he fills a slot on your opportunities column, all right? So then, what was I going to say then? The next bit here then is understanding the redundancies. So if you've got too much of something, then you need to be aware of that, okay? So if you've got too much of an ability in combat and you don't necessarily need it, like Matt, for example, with your Deathwatch, you don't need 10 veterans, right? All with Stormbolters. You don't need 40 shots. Normally 30 shots is enough, but you'll have to spend a lot more points to get the extra 10 shots when actually those points can be spent elsewhere, okay? Because you only need a certain amount of something to do a job for you. Anything beyond that, unless you rolled really, really ridiculously awful, you can just get rid of it. It's like in my AdMech list, I'm going to be getting rid of Belisarius Cruel. I don't really think I need him, okay? I think reroll ones is probably going to be enough. I don't think I need reroll all misses for what I can else do with those points, if that makes sense, all right? So if you're doing something particularly well and probably too well, it might be because it's going to hinder you somewhere else. Remember, you are paying for absolutely everything. So if you're paying for horde clearance, what you're not paying for is, met clearance, for example, or vehicle clearance, for example, okay? So always be aware of that, okay? So moving on then from, that was just a quick point on redundancies. The next point, and I think this will be good for maybe we sort of really go into next time, is I want to leave this actually as like playing style. So there's, 4 main play styles. You've got your gun line, you've got your sort of combat alpha strike, you've got your horde and table control, and then you've got like your heavy psychic. And and then you've probably got like an elite choice army as well. Okay, so you've got like maybe 5-6 different styles of play there. Okay, so like your gun line, you've got your Tau, you've got your Admech, you've got your guard infantry, then obviously your combat alpha strike, you've got your, let's say, world eaters, you've got and obviously some armies do a little bit of both. What other sort of alpha strike armies are there? Harlequins, Yanari, Gene Stealer Cult, come down, hit you hard in the face, and just hope they break the sort of camel's back, so to speak, turn one. And then you've got your horde table controls, you've got your orcs, you've got the plague bearers, you've got cultist spam, you've got the infantry gun line, you've got the horde. Has anyone played a horde sisters list yet with 120 sisters? Yeah, that you do not want to play that list, I can tell you. That is a horrible horde to get through. Then you've got then like the magic heavy, so you've got your, for example, Tzeentch demons, that kind of stuff, and then your elite armies will be either knights or custodes or whatever. I can't believe I actually say custodes like an American person says custodes. I just realised I've been listening to too many podcasts because we call it custodes. Yeah. Anyway, few little differences there. I've been listening to Jeff too much on the old podcasts. Right. Okay. So then what you need to identify is, right, what is your player style, and are you playing your play style in the way that it should be played? Okay. And a really good example here is like we've got loads of things to go over, and but we're not going to have time for it on tonight's call. We're already at an hour. But basically, I'm going to leave stratagem use to another call. I'll quickly cover play styles. We'll wrap that up, and we'll probably go into this in a little bit more detail on our next call. And then we've also got like selecting warlord traits, relics, whether you go mixed units and stuff. So we'll cover all that on our next call. But the last thing that I want to sort of cover really here is basically I want to cover Jack's army, and hang on a minute.
Steve's just giving somebody a bollocking.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Crinkling wrapping paper in the background.
Noisy person.
Amy is very sorry for rattling paper.
No, I'm not.
She's not sorry.
Not sorry.
Sorry about that, guys. So what was I going to say? So, for example, Jack's list. Jack's list is... And Jack's had a few problems with his list, like his Speed Freaks army, because he expects it to be an alpha strike. Like he's got his bikes to get in turn one. They can like move 36 inches, make a charge. And obviously they're orcs. So he's expecting them to literally decimate armies turn one. But it is just not happening for him at all. And he's been getting like quite annoyed about it. And then until we sort of sat down and realized that his list isn't designed to do that. His list is to tag, to tie things up, but to have the maneuverability to score points every single turn. So actually his list isn't about killing anything, it's about board control, it's about scoring points progressively for the first 4 turns of the game, and then trying to survive and defend for the last 2 turns. So that's something that he needs to get his head around, because otherwise he's going to be making emotional choices about his army, which is, I've got a, wreck face list, when it's not designed for that. It's a good list and it can score points, and it can win matches, but he's not playing it in the way that it should be played. And unfortunately, that's affecting his ability to be a good general. And he's acting emotionally rather than, like getting annoyed about certain things, like his bikes not killing like all my robots or whatever, or all of my screen when he played Admech. But they didn't need to do that. They just needed to be a nuisance, wrap things, tie things up. So yeah, again, it was just a case of, if you are struggling, you need to try and identify, and that's when we have our phone calls next month, one-to-one, we can start to go over all this stuff. And actually, it would be really great on the spreadsheet by the time we have that one-to-one phone call with you all, you've had at least 5 games with your list and you filled out that spreadsheet. All right? Mark, have I missed anything from this one?
I don't think so, mate.
All right, guys.
Not that I can think of. I think that's a fair point that's a really interesting point about Jack, actually, because I played Jack's list and I took my Dark Eldar, and in the first 60 seconds of the game, he went, "I'm going to play this stratagem so I can move twice." I went, "No, you're not." I vexed it. And also, we'd done Hammer and Anvil, so it made his life really, really difficult. Now, in hindsight, probably what I was looking to do was, I played it twice actually. Once it beat me, and then the second time I brought a different list, and I managed to get a win against him. But really, probably the best thing I could have done was to go with, ask him what list I should take, and then let him utilize his strategy against me, and then say, right, next time I'm going to bring something more potent. Let's see if that strategy works twice. So I've never seen this before, but this is so interesting that Jack's come up with what I think is an awesome list. I agreed with him when he wrote it, and the way he was playing it I thought was right. But actually, over a number of games, what he's found is that it doesn't work in that way, and he's got a bit frustrated with it. But actually, it does something possibly even better. Certainly for like ITC or, like a Maelstrom and that sort of thing, the board control it's got is immense. And also it pins your opponent in their deployment zone, unless you've got Horde as well. And if you have, it competes against it really well. So actually it does something possibly better. I think he was hoping that it'd be an army that either wiped somebody out or got smashed. But if he plays it correctly now, it can last the duration and do a really good job. So I think that's like that learning curve, if you like, is so important and really interesting to get your head around.
No, I completely agree with Mark on that one, and it's a really good he summed that up a lot better than I did. So, again, if you're putting a list together, think about its intention. So what style of list are you trying to put together, and then reevaluate it. Is it doing that purpose? Is it really fulfilling that role? And then that way you can become a lot more rational about your decisions, not only when you're playing, but also after it. And then also it's just going to increase your enjoyment of the game. But guys, that's our content wrapped up for tonight. Before we go over stratagem, relic, and warlord use is going to be its own call. We had it down under this call, but obviously with me going over the spreadsheet and everything, I'm going to be here for another hour. So we'll do our next call will be on all those things. Like, for example, the AdMech list I'm putting together, I've got multiple Forge Worlds in the same detachments. So I just get rid of certain buffs, but I can really utilize the other elements of stratagems. My whole army is going to revolve around stratagem use, warlord traits, and relics rather than horrible units, because it's just the way that I think is going to be stronger. So again, we're going to talk about how you spend your CPs, how you're going to get them back, what they should be left for, whether a stratagem's a good use or a bad use. Are you using stratagems emotionally, reactively, or are they pre-planned? So all that stuff we're going to go over on the next call. But I have a feeling some of this stuff is going to be impacted by the FAQ. So fingers crossed it will be out before our next call.
Got to be, surely.
Anything else I've missed or that you want me to go over quickly for last 5?
There's a couple of questions from Jared because he can't speak. I think probably best to open the chat up and have a look at those. One in particular is he says, I get trying to identify weaknesses, but my list is close to what other people are running and just smashing things. My suggestion there, mate, is that utilize the spreadsheet and then let's go over it. Let's have a look at it there, because the data you'll give us will help us to understand exactly where you're having a problem, and maybe for you to understand that as well, by looking at it in that broken down format.
Yeah, for sure.
How does that sound? All right.
No, definitely. I think we need, data needs to inform everything. Matt, anything from you, bro?
No, good, thanks.
No? Joaquin, anything from you? I know you've kind of missed the start of this call, mate, but a lot more makes sense when you watch back the first half of it. But is there anything you want to go over at the moment?
No, not right now. I just have to watch the video.
Cool. All right. Chris?
A question for Joaquin. How's the? Have you had to go with the Blood Angels list we sent you?
Not yet. I've been working, and I had to order through the models, and
Okay.
DW's been taking their time about sending them.
Okay. Cool. Let us know when you've played it. Let us know how you're getting on. We'd love to hear from you on it.
Yeah, I've been waiting to get them so I can let you guys know.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice. Chris, anything from you? All good?
No, I'm good.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, look, if that is the case, what I'll do, Joaquin, is add you to the live call. Obviously, let us know when you've watched this back as well, because I'm keeping a bit of a register so I can make sure everyone's keeping up with all the content. But guys, good call, I think, tonight. Covered some good stuff. But again, obviously, most of it's going to revolve around this kind of really utilizing this and maximizing the data that we've got on with each other. All right. So, guys, that's that. Hopefully, I'll go live in the week. Should have a bit more time this week to do that, and then finish off some other bits we've got coming up. So yeah, Matt, we'll get Jack on the case for those that roundup of those missions for you. And then also Mark will add in the all these bits we've been talking about from tonight's call on the spreadsheet, and then everyone will have access to that by the end of the month. Also, what Jack has done is he's amended the description in Facebook. When you go on the group, you can see where all of our calls are, so you can watch them all backdated. All right. Right, guys.
Cool.
Yeah, Jared, I've seen that. Those other army lists. I was working on that last week. I think there's only one left to do. I'll be honest with you, format that we've been using has been suboptimal. We've been using a Google Drive, and we've moved over to Dropbox now, so it should make it loads easier. So, next couple of days, mate, those will be up on Patreon.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right, guys. Well, take care. Have a great week, and hopefully I'll speak to you in the week, I'm sure. Anyway. All right.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Take care, guys. See you later. Bye.
Later, guys.